Good evening, everyone. What a fabulous audience. What a good turnout. It's great to see you all here. I'm a professional photographer, which is how I got into starting the Travel Photographer of the Year Awards. And I'm also a fairly tenacious person. So it started with a day of frustration, basically, in London, going around trying to get my work into publications, magazines, and meeting picture editor after picture editor who was only interested in the bog standard, really predictable pictures of travel places, destinations, and people. So I decided to do something about it. And what I decided to do was to create a showcase for photography, for travel photography, and for travel photographers. And that's how the awards were born. That was back in 2002. So we're now running the 12th award. We launched in February 2003 at Focus, which is a photographic show in Birmingham. It's now sadly finished. And it was very difficult because at the time, there weren't very many photography competitions at all, and even fewer travel ones. And as an independent starting up, we had no kudos. So it was very difficult to get publicity for what we were doing. We did it ourselves. And when I talk about we, it's two of us. It's been two of us all along, even though the awards now have a huge presence. We did this through the internet, and in the first year, we got entries from 34 different countries around the world. From the point we got our first winners, of which this is one, the media sat up and started taking notice of us. Now, since then, it's grown and grown and grown. The next obstacle was professionals can't compete against amateurs. The amateurs don't stand a chance. So in 2004, our first amateur winner completely dispelled that myth. And it is a myth because there are a lot of very good amateur photographers out there. One of the issues that we had to overcome from the very beginning is travel photography is pretty pictures. This is one of the winners from the last awards. This is a family business in the States, in the South, and they are alligator hunters. And this is the young child actually learning the business. So it's very important to understand that travel photography is a very broad spectrum. In the second year, this was one of the winning pictures which we announced as part of a portfolio which we announced in December. It was taken in Bam in Iran. Now, I don't know if any of you remember Bam, but it was leveled by an earthquake just 1 month after this picture was won in the awards. And it shows the poignancy with which images can often have and that's not apparent at the time. This is another one. This lady, we don't know if she's alive now. She was on the Andaman Islands when the tsunami struck. And again, this was 2 months after the picture was entered into the awards. And this one is particularly harrowing. Anyone who's recognized it, it's Ground Zero. Very poignant picture. But again, it's travel photography. Now, the stories behind the pictures are also very important, and they fascinate people at our exhibitions. This picture was taken on film, and you can't see it on this projection, but in the distance, there's a sandstorm coming. That sandstorm wrecked the photographer's camera and filled it with sand. This was one of 6 frames that they managed to rescue from it. Again, part of one of the winning images in the first year. So, exhibitions. We designed a showcase, so how do we get the pictures out there? Initially, we exhibited through trade shows, travel shows, photography shows, and in 2005, we had our first outdoor exhibition at the London Eye. This really put us on the map. We've gone on since then to exhibit at our new home, which is the Royal Geographical Society in London. The exhibition is on there at the moment. It runs until the 17th of August. It's indoors and outdoors, and this week we're starting some enchanted evenings. So we're inviting people along to a private view with judges there to talk about it on this Friday and then the following 2 Wednesdays. We get massive audiences for these exhibitions now. 48,000 people came last year for our 5-week exhibition. We're aiming to get more than that for the coming one. Now, one of the things we set out to do with the awards was to create opportunities for photographers, for young photographers, for people who are aspiring to get into the profession. So there are special categories for both. was taken at the Goodwood Festival of Speed in 2004, I think it was. The photographer was 8 years old at the time. He was a young winner of the awards. This picture, through our pest coverage, was spotted by Ferrari. He was invited along for a track testing day and to photograph the cars at Brands Hatch. His father was very jealous because he was a photographer too. And this image was one that won a New Talent Award for young photographers, emerging talent. It won it several years ago. And one of the judges is a leading stock figure in the States. And he said he could sell this image around the world without any problems whatsoever. So again, another young photographer with a good career in photography. This picture has a lovely story to it. Again, a young photographer, 16 years at the time when she won, an Australian photographer. Our press coverage is very extensive, and this was seen by a central London ad agency who was representing a major aerospace manufacturer. They approached us about the picture. When we get approaches, we either put them through to the photographer or we ask them if they'd like us to handle it. As a 16-year-old, she didn't know how to go about selling the picture, so she asked us to do it. We negotiated a 5-figure sum for her, which paid for her entire college education and a new camera system, and the company came back the next year and licensed it again. So those opportunities are really fantastic for the young photographers, and I really love the work of the young photographers. They're so creative. Right, in 2007, we had a prize to photograph the Dalai Lama. And the winner was a London-based photographer called Kat Vinton. The story to this, I think I've got time to tell it, was that the sponsor who had provided this prize then went into liquidation. And they refused to help me to make it happen. It took 4 years and 3 months, and a lot of contacts with the Dalai Lama's office and a lot of other people out in Dharamshala in India. But Kat went out there in February of last year with me, and we photographed His Holiness, which was the most amazing experience. We've also worked with charities. Elephant Family, I don't know if those of you remember the sculpture elephants around town a couple of years back. We had a prize for one of the photographers who photograph wild stories, and this is the winner, Stuart Dunn. Part of his prize was to go out to India and photograph the project for the Elephant Family, which has helped them with their promotion. Now, in 2012, to reflect the changes in cameras with HD video being present, we introduced an HD video camera short films. This is one of the first winners. It's a time lapse. Had 3,200 images made up this 1 minute of footage. It was taken by made by a Dutch photographer called Marcel van Oosten. Vimeo, was picked up by Vimeo, became the editor's choice, then went all the way around again. So there's fabulous exposure to be had from getting involved with something like this. So, question I'm asked often, what's travel photography? Well, it's people, it's intimate moments, hopefully with a bit of humor. Humor is something photographers often find hard to capture. It's looking at things from a different perspective. It's landscape and the beautiful planet that we live on. Abstracts, movement, adventure, and just sheer beautiful images. It's about documenting the world that we live in. Not all of it's pleasant. Some of it's hopefully funny. And there are moments of just pure joy. I was asked before I did this talk, what's your favorite pictures? Now, as you can imagine, I see something like 15,000, 20,000 images every year, and I've done that for 12 years. So there's a lot of possibilities to choose that. I pulled out 3. I could have pulled out 3,000. This one I particularly loved enough to actually buy it from the photographer, buy a print of it. It's a minke whale just under the surface of the ocean. I think it's just a majestic picture. This one doesn't work so well on the projection here, but it's a very beautiful, elegant picture of cranes. And this is probably my favorite because it's just so joyful. Wonderful, wonderful picture. Now, we're at the stage now with our exhibitions where they get great prominence, we get press coverage all around the world, so we're going to start to tour them next year. And our first tour, which we've just agreed, so you're the first to hear this, is we'll be going to Belfast for the next 3 years, and it'll be starting next year when the Tall Ships race is on. This year's current exhibition was won by Timothy Allen. Timothy was the photographer that did the stills for the Human Planet series. And he won it with, this is one of the portfolios of images that he won it with. This is a particular favorite of mine. It was a portfolio of 4 images of the monkeys, the macaques in Japan. And the most beautiful thing about it is that all the pictures were taken with the monkey's eyes shut. It was a really bold thing for the photographer to do, but a beautiful set of images. Another one of the images from the current exhibition, which is proving very popular. We find photographers are very poor at putting together portfolios of images, so a few years back we introduced a best single image in a portfolio category to allow us to pull out great images from portfolios that were never going to be winners. This was one from the current year, and just to show you the variety, here's another one. I think you can see that travel photography is really diverse, and it's only really limited by your imagination. It's anything you do when you travel. But each year we have theme categories, and the theme categories allow us to change it and keep it fresh and vibrant each year around. It's open at the moment for entries. You've got until the 1st of October if you want to get involved. It's a great thing to be part of, and it's a real community. This is another one of the images from this year, a stunning picture. We've had some wonderful wildlife images entered last year. So just to finish off, a few facts behind what we do. It's now one of the biggest photography awards in the world, but we've always focused on it being a community. And we work very hard to stay in touch with the photographers that get involved with the awards, whether they're seasoned professionals or complete beginners. The exhibition going on tour is going to open up this showcase all over the place, and we hope to announce about 5 different venues in the next, probably in the next 2 months. We'll finalize them. We've also put together a collection of the very best pictures which we invite photographers to put their work into. This is providing a revenue stream for photographers who are finding it very tough at the moment. And we are selling prints, we are selling cards, books. You can have a look at these later on if you like. We publish the books ourselves, a range of different cards. And the photographers all earn royalties. And we pay, because I'm a photographer myself, we pay about 10 times the royalty of any other photography competition. The website gets huge traffic, and the potential is there for huge exposure for the photographers that get involved. The winner from Canada in 2008 told us that his web traffic went up tenfold overnight when he was announced as the winner. All his courses booked out, and he was getting commissions from around the world. The visibility is huge. I don't know whether you saw it, but a couple of weeks back, it was the main story on the Mail Online, which is the biggest website in the world, and it was on the main page, not just the travel section. It was there for half a day. We have a slideshow that goes out on the BBC. That gets about 650,000 unique visitors in the first 24 hours. Last year, it was the 3rd most viewed slideshow behind the Royal Wedding and the Queen's Jubilee, neither of which are happening this year, so we're aiming for top spot. The media coverage is fantastic. We run a series of courses and photo trips, working with other photographers. We're just about to announce one to go and photograph snow leopards in the Himalayas in 2016. And if you're a photographer, it's a great way to get your work out there. We publicize the photographers who haven't won as well as the ones that have. And if you're not a photographer, the exhibition is something you'll thoroughly enjoy. Most of our visitors stay at least an hour, and some stay the day. It's indoors and outdoors, and it's just a wonderful opportunity to meet. There is so much I could have talked about tonight. All the ins and outs and all the intricacies of putting together an award. What you see is a fraction of the story that makes that all happen. And there are lots of people who have their input into it. But I hope you'll agree from just a few snapshots of the pictures I've shown you that there are some great images out there, and photographers are now getting their work seen around the world, which can't be a bad thing. Thank you very much.